This story comes from Batam, Indonesia and has been around since 2010. It involves a teenager girl who had just entered junior high school and faced a tragic fate after her friends celebrated her birthday. The celebration was done in unusual way, where her friends wanted to play a prank by hiding a phone and some money inside the teenager's bag. Unfortunately, however, the course took turns to the worse, so it's led to her death. It starts in a residential area somewhere in Batam, Indonesia. There lived a 12-year-old. Her name is Hana. She lived with her parents in a decent house. Hana was a 7th grade student junior high school. She was known as a smart and beautiful girl who had also kind and polite to those around her. Her physical appearance made her seems like a well-behaved girl. This made Hana have a close relationship with her classmates and teachers. They all cared for each other, especially when one of them had a birthday. As it happened, Hannah's 13th birthday was approaching. Her class teacher and friends planned to give her a surprise party, which they hoped will be an unforgettable expression of affection and appreciation for Hannah. It was like a small party or another activity that could leave a sweet impression on Hannah's special birthday. At that time, there was a friend who suddenly whispered to another friend. He said, "Hey, Hannah's birthday is coming up soon on November 26th. Don't forget, we have to make it a surprise," whispered it to the other kids. One of her friends said, "Don't let Hannah find out." Then the plan started to spread all of Hannah's friends. They exchanged information and agreed to prepare everything in secret. While her friends were whispering to each other, Hannah was a bit suspicious. It was because she was the only one who didn't get any information at that time. She thought to herself, they must be planning to surprise me again. It's always the same. They will probably throw eggs and flour at me. Hannah thought, how annoying. Why do they have to make such a big deal about my birthday? Hannah felt this way because her friends were already very used to giving surprises to their classmates on their birthdays. So Hannah felt like she was going to be pranked on soon. But actually, her friends are planning something different. Before the day of her birthday arrived, some of her friends started making plans. At that time, one of them said, "Hey, we are going to give her a surprise. What's the concept? Do we want to throw flour and eggs again like we always do, or do we change it up?" Then another friend responded to the question, "I think that's getting old. How about we try to pull off a drama instead?" "Sounds good, right? We can prank her. It's the trend now, like on YouTube," they said. It was no big deal for them to prank Hannah as long as it didn't go overboard. Not long after, one of them came up with an idea. They all agreed to carry out the plan. And, as it happened, it was the day of Hannah's birthday. Hannah had a hunch that her friends were planning something and thought of ways to avoid it. She didn't want to experience the same fate as her other friends who got hit with eggs and covered in floors on their birthdays. So Hannah came up with a plan by asking her dad, who usually picked her up from school, to arrive exactly on time that day, so that their friends doesn't have a chance to prank her. That is the plan. She really wanted to avoid getting pranked with flour and eggs because it will be embarrassing and hard to clean up. So Hannah went to school as usual and planned to head home in the afternoon as soon as possible. Everything seems normal, and she attended the classes without any disruptions or teasing from her friends until the 3 p.m. bell rang, signaling the start of the break time. According to their plan, one of Hannah's friends asked her to go to the canteen. Hey Hannah, let's go to the canteen for a bit. I want to grab something to eat, she said. Hannah didn't suspect anything at that moment. He stood up and said, Okay, I will go with you. Then Hannah and her friends rushed to the canteen. Meanwhile, some other friends who had left the classroom for break time snuck back in. They saw that Hannah's seat was empty, which was all part of their plan. They started searching for Hannah's bag and hid several phones inside it. At the time, they involved one of the teachers, Miss Yani, a math teacher who was scheduled to teach after the break time. She agreed to be a part of the prank on Hannah. After the break, the students returned to class, and Miss Yani entered the room, ready to carry out the plan. Not long after she arrived, one of the students, named Zika, started a scenario. He pretended to search his bag, saying, Where is it? I could have sworn it was here. His tone was loud and seemed like he was confused because he lost something. All of the students in the class looked at Zika. Miss Yani directly asked him, Zika, what's wrong? Is something missing? Zika replied, Yes, ma'am, I had 300,000 rupiah in my bag, but when I checked, it was gone. He said that before he left the classroom, he had checked and the money was still there. Miss Yani told him to check again, suggesting that it might have slipped out or fallen under the desk. Zika insisted that the money was not just misplaced, but truly lost. Then, one of the female students in the class spoke up, saying, My phone is also missing. I remember putting it in the classroom, but now it's gone. Upon hearing this, Miss Yani asked everyone in the class to leave the room. She said, Okay, don't make a commotion. Be calm, let me check. Once everyone was out, then without a delay, 33 students from the class stood up and waited by the door. Miss Yani then called upon four of the students by saying, You four, come here and help me find the missing items. The four students began searching the room. They going through each of their classmates' bags one by one according to their plan. As planned, the two missing items were found in Hannah's bag. Miss Yani called out in a trembling voice, Hannah, come here. As soon as Hannah's name was called, she immediately entered the classroom, and all of the students suddenly burst into tears and teasing, saying maling maling, which means thief in Indonesia, towards Hannah. Some even said, Huh? You are the thief for sure. Hannah felt confused and tried to defend herself by saying, What's going on? Who's the thief? Don't just accuse someone without a reason. I just got back to the class because Miss Yani told me to come in. What did I do wrong? At that time, Hannah was extremely confused and didn't understand what was happening, especially since she had just returned from the canteen. She couldn't believe she was being suddenly accused for theft. When she entered the classroom, Miss Jenny directly said, Hannah, I found your friend missing items in your bag. Explain what happened, Miss Yani asked Hannah. Hannah, feeling innocent, replied, I didn't steal anything. I was just resting in the canteen with my friends. How I could have stolen something, Hannah said. But the students in front of the class teased her, saying, You are just trying to deny it. Then they called her thief and everyone teased her until Hannah looked very embarrassed. She almost cried from being teased. Hannah was shocked and confused about what was happening. Her situation was really bad and she could not defend herself because her friends kept teasing her, calling her a thief despite he already gave a logical explanation to defend herself. And the situation had gotten out of hand. Hannah's body became weak and her face suddenly turned pale. However, her friends still didn't realize what they had done. They continued to tease Hannah. A moment after, Okay, enough. It's time to reveal the prank to Hannah. When the student prepares to reveal the prank, suddenly, without a warning, Hannah fainted. The whole classroom now was in shock. No one expected this to happen to her. Her friends and teacher were completely surprised by what they saw. The teacher, Miss Yani, immediately shouted for help. "Oh my goodness, what's happening? We need to get the oxygen tank quickly." One of the students rushed to get the oxygen tank and they tried to revive Hannah as soon as possible. But sadly, their efforts didn't work and Hannah still didn't regain consciousness. The school authorities then tried to contact Hannah's parents, who were shocked by the news. They asked in disbelief, "How is this possible? My child suddenly fainted? What happened?" Before leaving the school that morning, Hannah was fine with no signs of illness or complaints. Without hesitation, Hannah's father rushed to the school to see what had happened to his daughter. Hannah remained unconscious for a long time. But after her father arrived, she slowly regained consciousness. However, she was in a dazed state, and her eyes looked empty as if she had seen something that scared her. At that moment, the class teacher tried to explain to Hannah that her friends were just playing a prank to surprise her on her birthday. But sadly, Hannah had already been traumatized by what happened. Her expression was blank, indicating that she experienced like a severe trauma, and it might seem exaggerated, but every person has a different level of strength. Hannah, a well-behaved girl who never did anything unusual before, felt shocked and hurt because she was suddenly accused of doing something she never did. From then on, Hannah's behavior changed. She was taken home by her father using motorcycle. The once cheerful Hannah now often looked lost in thought. Her face appeared gloomy. She would suddenly say, "I'm not a thief, I didn't steal anything," as if trying to convince herself and others that she was innocent. She keeps repeating this phrase until they arrive home. When they get home, Hannah's father tells his wife about the incident. At first, the mother thinks that maybe Hannah is just traumatized and will get over it soon. The mother tries to reassure herself that the children often experience trauma and that it's normal for them to be upset. However, Hannah's condition doesn't seem to improve. She remains silent and unresponsive, not reacting to anything. And several hours pass. Hannah still doesn't come out of her room. She moved through the house like a shadow. Her once lively presence replaced by an eerie silence. The house, once filled with laughter, now felt like a tomb. The mother starts to worry that something is wrong with her daughter. Hannah's behavior is unusual and she seems different from before. Her mother tries to approach Hannah, but the girl appears more and more confused. Despite having schoolwork to do, Hannah leaves it untouched on her desk. The next day, Hannah still seems troubled. She goes to school but has a hard time focusing in class. Her eyes are empty and she is difficult to communicate with. She seems paranoid as if she doesn't trust anyone around her. However, she insists on attending classes. As the days pass, Hannah's condition worsens. She becomes increasingly uncommunicative, loses her appetite, and stops responding to anything. The once cheerful, vibrant girl was gone. The prank meant to bring joy had instead unleashed a darkness that threatened to consume her. And her parents watched helplessly. They couldn't help but wonder, would their Hannah ever return? On Sunday, her condition takes a turn for the worse. She is not just confused but also extremely anxious and keeps bursting into tears. Now her mother is worried sick about Hannah's mental state. She tried to talk to Hannah and asked her to calm down, suggesting that she perform the prayer, all for the sake of her inner peace. Hannah, being obedient, followed her mother's orders and performed the prayer. Not long after, Hannah said something to her mother. "Mom, why I am like this? Why do I feel different? I feel strange with what I am feeling right now, Hannah said while crying uncontrollably. Her mother then replied and gave her advice. Her mother tried to calm her daughter down, saying maybe Hannah was just tired and needed rest, and didn't need to think about strange things. However, at that time, Hannah had already become unresponsive. When asked to talk, she couldn't answer properly. Her answers were weird and nonsensical. Even when asked to read, Hannah stuttered and struggled to recite, despite being very fluent in reading before. This strangeness made it difficult for Hannah to sleep peacefully. At night, she would often wake up, staring at the ceiling with a bewildered expression as if deep in thought. She also refused to eat, not wanting to put any food in her mouth. This condition worsened over several days, and her parents grew increasingly concerned. So, a few days later, Hannah was taken to the hospital for treatment. During the treatment, which lasted for several weeks, up to 2 weeks, her parents asked the doctor about her condition. The doctor explained that despite being a healthy child with no history of serious illnesses, Hannah was experiencing depression, which had disrupted her bodily function. Her condition had reached a critical stage and she had stopped eating, leading to bleeding in her stomach. The doctor also diagnosed Hannah with a brain tissue infection. The doctor stated that her condition was deteriorating rapidly, adding that she was also suffering from nerve inflammation. During those 2 weeks, Hannah did not show any sign of consciousness. However, there were few times before when she had shown signs of awareness. She didn't say anything, just staring blankly, and then she lost consciousness again. Hannah's parents were getting desperate with their child's condition. Then, on Thursday, December 16, 2010, something unexpected happened. Hannah woke up calling out her parents saying, "Father, mother, father, mother," repeatedly. But suddenly, her tongue became stiff and she could not speak at all, becoming unconscious again. Her parents, who saw Hannah's condition, panicked and called the doctor. The doctor immediately came and started examining Hannah. Unfortunately, it was Hannah's last words, as she closed her eyes forever, taking her last breath at 4 a.m. in the morning. No one expected that her call for her parents would be her final goodbye. The doctor told Hannah's parents, "We are sorry, we have tried our best, but unfortunately, your child cannot be saved." Upon hearing the doctor's words, Hannah's parents were shocked and burst into tears, mourning the loss of their child. The news of Hannah's death spread quickly and shocked many people. Many wondered if it was just a prank that led to someone's death due to depression. But no one could explain what really happened. This incident became a focus of attention for the education agency in Batam City. The city council also took notice of the case. The school could not deny what had happened to Hannah, admitting that there was a plan to give her a surprise, which involved pretending to accuse her of being a thief. However, the school explained that their intention was good, meant to make Hannah's day more exciting, but they didn't expect it would end in a tragedy. The school then explained the actual chronology of the events, saying that the plan for the surprise came from Hannah's friends, which was then proposed to the class teacher. However, none of them could have foreseen that their well-meaning surprise would spiral into a tragedy. It left an undeniable mark on everyone involved. In the aftermath, as the dust settled and the truth began to surface, no one stepped forward to take responsibility. No one is admitted fault. Not the classmates who orchestrated the surprise, not the class teacher who allowed it to unfold, and not even the school principal who stood by as the events took their devastating turns. The official explanation was cold and clinical. Hannah's death was attributed to a medical condition, severe depression triggered by a traumatic event of her birthday. It was a convenient conclusion, one that absolved everyone of blame. But for those who knew Hannah, who loved her, the truth was far more painful. She had been felt not by her body, but by the people around her, felt by their thoughtlessness, their inability to see fragility beneath her smile, and their refusal to acknowledge the weight of their action. This is the story of Hannah, a bright soul extinguished too soon, not by illness alone, but by carelessness of those who should have known better. Her death serves as a haunting reminder for the power we hold over one another. Often, without realizing it, it forces us to ask ourselves, how far are we willing to go in the name of fun or tradition, and at what cost? Yet, it is one we often forget. Our actions, no matter how small or well-intentioned, they can carry consequences. A moment of thoughtlessness can shatter a life, and a single misstep can leave a scars that never heal. Let Hannah's story be a call to empathy, a plea to think before we act. What do you learn from this story? Let us know in the comment section down below. So, that's all for today. Paranusa signing off.